Commander Zethkai pressed her six-fingered hand against the cool metal of her ship's control panel. The stars outside looked the same as they had for 50 years. Quiet, peaceful, safe. The outer rim patrol was boring work, but someone had to do it. Someone had to make sure the old threats stayed buried. Her ship, the Vigilant Dawn, moved slowly through space near the Andromeda Gate. The gate was one of the ancient travel points that connected distant parts of the galaxy. Most species use these gates to move quickly between star systems, but this gate had been sealed for 50 years. No one was allowed to use it. The Galactic Council had made sure of that. Zethkai was part of the Council Enforcement Division. Her job was simple: keep the galaxy safe from the humans. Even thinking that word made her skin crawl under her blue scales. Humans. The Council had taught everyone to fear that name. 50 years ago, the humans had made contact with the galaxy. It had been a disaster. The first human ship had arrived at the Council's main station. The aliens there had expected to meet another peaceful species. Instead, they found creatures that were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. The humans had somehow taken control of 3 Council ships during their first meeting. They had threatened Council members. They had shown no respect for galactic law or order. The Council had acted quickly. They built a barrier around the human home system. Earth was trapped behind an energy wall that nothing could cross. The humans were cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Their location was made secret. Speaking about humans became forbidden. The galaxy was safe again. Zethkai had been young when the prohibition was made. She remembered the fear in her parents' voices when they talked about the humans. Her teachers had told her stories about human violence and chaos. The humans were monsters that would destroy everything if they were ever set free. Now she was 47 years old. She had spent 20 years in the Enforcement Division. She had never seen a human. No one had. The barrier around Earth was perfect. The Council's best scientists had built it. Nothing could break through it. Nothing could escape from it. The alarm on her ship started making noise. Zethkai looked at her screens with confusion. Her sensors were picking up something strange near the Andromeda Gate. Ships. 3 of them. Moving fast toward the gate. That was impossible. The gate was sealed. No ships were supposed to be in this area at all. The outer rim was empty space. Nothing lived here. Nothing traveled here. Zethkai moved her ship closer to get a better look. Her sensors worked harder to identify the ships. The readings she got made no sense. The ships were made of materials she had never seen before. Their energy signatures were completely unknown. Their design was unlike anything in the Council database. But there was something familiar about them too. Something that made her blood turn cold. The shape of the ships. The way they moved. She had seen these patterns before in old Council records. Records that were supposed to be destroyed. Records about the forbidden species. These ships looked human. Zethkai checked her sensors again. This had to be a mistake. Humans could not leave their solar system. The barrier had been holding for 50 years. The Council's best engineers had said it would last forever. No technology could break through it, but the ships kept moving toward the gate. They were not slowing down. They were not responding to her signals. They acted like they owned this space. Zethkai opened a communication channel. Her voice shook as she spoke into her ship's transmitter. Unknown ships? This is Commander Zethkai of the Council Enforcement Division. You are in prohibited space. Turn around immediately or you will be destroyed. No response came back. The ships kept moving toward the gate. One of them was bigger than the others. It had weapons that Zethkai did not recognize. Technology that looked far beyond anything the Council possessed. Fear filled her chest. This could not be happening. The humans were supposed to be trapped. They were supposed to be primitive and helpless behind their barrier. They certainly were not supposed to have ships that made Council technology look old and weak. Zethkai tried to contact Council headquarters. Her transmission would take hours to reach them. By then, these ships would be long gone. She had to act now. She powered up her ship's weapons. The Vigilant Dawn was a powerful enforcement vessel. It could destroy most ships with a single shot, but looking at these unknown ships, Zethkai was not sure her weapons would even scratch them. The largest ship suddenly turned toward her. Zethkai's sensors screamed warnings. The ship was targeting her. She could feel death approaching. Then something impossible happened. A voice came through her communication system. It spoke in perfect Council standard. the language used by all galactic civilizations. But the accent was wrong. The tone was different. It sounded almost human. "Council ship, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel New Horizon. We mean you no harm. We are simply passing through. Please do not interfere." Zethkai's world collapsed around her. Human. The voice had said, human. After 50 years of silence, they were back. But how? How had they escaped their prison? How had they built ships like these? "This is impossible," Zethkai whispered into her communicator. "Humans cannot be here. You are contained. You are prohibited." A laugh came back through the channel. It was not a cruel laugh or an angry laugh. It sounded almost sad. "Contained?" The voice said. "Commander, we have not been contained for a very long time. We have been free. We have been growing. We have been learning. And now we have business to attend to." The three ships moved past Zethkai toward the gate. She watched in horror as the sealed gate began to open. The ancient technology responded to the human ships as if it recognized them, as if they belonged here. "How?" Zethkai asked. "How are you doing this?" "The gate has been sealed for 50 years. Only the Council can open it." "The Council sealed one gate," the human voice replied. "There are many gates in the galaxy, Commander. Some of them you never found. Some of them you forgot about. Some of them we built ourselves." The ships disappeared through the gate. The massive portal closed behind them. Zethkai was left alone in empty space, staring at the spot where the impossible had just happened. She sat in silence for a long time. Her mind tried to understand what she had witnessed. The humans were free. They had been free for who knew how long. They had technology that made the Council look primitive. They had ships that could go anywhere they wanted. But most terrifying of all, they had not destroyed her. They could have killed her easily. Instead, they had talked to her. They had explained themselves. They had let her live. Zethkai had been taught that humans were monsters, savage beasts that killed without thought. But the voice on the communication had been calm, reasonable, even kind. It had not threatened her. It had not demanded anything from her. Maybe everything the Council had taught about humans was wrong. Zethkai turned her ship around and headed back toward Council space. She had to report what she had seen. The galaxy needed to know that the humans were back. The 50 years of peace were over. As she flew through the darkness, Zethkai wondered what would happen next. The Council would panic. They would send fleets to hunt down the humans. They would try to force them back into their cage. But Zethkai had seen those ships. She had heard that voice. The humans were not the same creatures that had been imprisoned 50 years ago. They were something new, something powerful, something that might not need the Council's permission to exist. The time of prohibition was ending. What would take its place, Zethkai could not imagine, but she knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The Council chamber had not seen such chaos in 1,000 years. Representatives from 10,000 species filled the massive dome-shaped room. Their voices echoed off the crystal walls as they shouted and argued. Fear hung in the air like a thick cloud. High Chancellor Morden stood at the center of it all, his forearms raised for silence. His golden skin had turned pale since receiving Commander Zethkai's report 3 days ago. The humans were back. After 50 years of believing them safely contained, they had returned to the galaxy. Order. Morden's voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. "We must have order." Slowly, the voices quieted. 10,000 pairs of eyes turned toward the central platform. Morden looked down at his notes with shaking hands. Everything they had built, everything they had believed was falling apart. "As you all know," Morden began, "we have confirmed reports of human ships moving freely through our space. This should be impossible. The barrier around their home system remains intact. Our monitoring stations detect no breach in the containment field." A representative from the Altair Federation stood up. Her blue scales glittered under the chamber's lights. "Then how are they here? How did they escape?" Before Morden could answer, the main doors to the chamber opened. Every head turned to watch as a small group of figures walked in. They moved with confidence, showing no fear of the thousands of aliens staring at them. The lead figure was clearly human. She had the pale skin and dark hair that marked her species. She wore a simple black uniform with no decorations or symbols of rank. Behind her walked 2 other humans and 3 creatures that no one in the chamber recognized. The chamber erupted in panic. Some representatives tried to run for the exits. Others called for security. Many simply stared in shock at the forbidden species standing before them. The human woman waited patiently for the noise to die down. When it did, she spoke in clear, calm council standard. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I represent the Human Federation and our allied species. We have come here to talk." Morden's voice cracked as he responded. "This is impossible. You cannot be here. You are contained. You are prohibited." Dr. Chen smiled. It was not a threatening smile or a cruel smile. It looked almost sad. "High Chancellor, we were never contained. We chose to leave." The chamber fell completely silent. Every creature in the room leaned forward to hear her words. 50 years ago, you built a barrier around our solar system. You thought you were trapping us. You thought you were keeping the galaxy safe from dangerous humans. But you made a mistake." Dr. Chen walked closer to the central platform. Security guards moved to stop her, but Morden waved them back. "Your barrier only blocked travel in and out of our solar system through normal space. But humans have never been good at accepting limits. While you celebrated your successful containment, we were working. We were learning. We were finding new ways to travel between the stars." One of the creatures behind Dr. Chen stepped forward. It looked like a giant crystal spider with wings. When it spoke, its voice sounded like singing. "The humans discovered us on a dead world beyond your maps," the creature said. "We had been hiding from your council for 3,000 years. The humans did not try to control us or change us. They asked if we wanted to be friends." Dr. Chen nodded toward the crystal creature. "Meet Ambassador Silandra of the Crystal Winds. Her people taught us how to fold space without using the ancient gates. In return, we shared our technology and our friendship." Another of the alien creatures moved forward. This one looked like a moving tree with eyes made of starlight. "The humans found us dying on a poisoned world," it said in a voice like rustling leaves. "Your council had marked our planet as worthless and forgotten us. The humans cleaned our air and healed our soil. They asked for nothing in return except the chance to learn from us." Dr. Chen gestured to her strange companions. "While you built walls, we built bridges. While you made lists of who could and could not exist in your galaxy, we made friends with the species you had forgotten or ignored." Morden found his voice again. "But why? Why reveal yourselves now? You could have stayed hidden forever." Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. "Because the galaxy is in danger and you don't even know it. Your isolation policies have blinded you to threats that could destroy us all." She pressed a button on a small device in her hand. A holographic display appeared above the chamber, showing star maps that covered vast areas of space. "For the past 20 years, something has been consuming entire star systems on the far edge of the galaxy. You call them the devourer swarms. Your response has been to close borders and hope they go away." The display showed red zones spreading across the star map like a disease. Hundreds of systems had gone dark. "We call them the hungry ones," Dr. Chen continued. "And they are not what you think they are. They are not invaders or destroyers. They are refugees running from something even worse, something that your council's isolation has prevented you from understanding." A representative from the Vega Consortium stood up angrily. "Lies. You expect us to believe that these monsters are refugees? They have killed billions." Dr. Chen turned to face the Vegan representative. "Yes, they have. Because they are starving and desperate and afraid. Because no one has tried to communicate with them. Because your response to every unknown is to build walls and shoot weapons." She gestured to the star map again. 6 months ago, human ships made contact with a Hungry One fleet. Instead of attacking, we tried to talk. We learned their language. We discovered their history. The map changed, showing new data that no council scientist had ever seen. The Hungry Ones come from beyond our galaxy. Their home was destroyed by something they call the Dark Silence. It consumes not just planets or stars, but space itself. It turns everything into nothing. They fled here hoping to find a new home. Dr. Chen's voice grew quiet. The Dark Silence is following them. It will arrive in our galaxy within 50 years. When it does, every world, every species, every star will be destroyed unless we work together to stop it." The chamber erupted in noise again. Some representatives shouted that this was a human trick. Others demanded proof. Many sat in stunned silence. Morden raised his arms for quiet. "Even if this is true, what do you expect us to do? The Council has protocols. We have procedures. We cannot simply change everything because you claim there is a threat." Dr. Chen looked around the chamber at the thousands of alien faces staring at her. "We don't expect you to change everything, High Chancellor. We expect you to choose." She touched her device again. The display showed images of human ships working alongside the crystal creatures and tree beings. They were building something huge in the space between stars. We are preparing for the dark silence with or without the Council's help. Our allies have already begun construction of defensive networks that span multiple star systems. We have started negotiations with the Hungry Ones to find them new homes in empty regions of space. Dr. Chen paused and looked directly at Morden. But we cannot protect 10,000 species by ourselves. We cannot save the entire galaxy with just the allies we have found. We need the Council's resources, knowledge, and unity. She turned to address the entire chamber. You have a choice to make. You can continue to hide behind your barriers and protocols while the dark silence approaches. You can keep pretending that isolation will keep you safe, or you can join us and fight for the survival of everything we all hold dear. The chamber fell silent again. 10,000 representatives looked at each other uncertainly. Everything they had believed about humans was being challenged. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was changing. Dr. Chen waited patiently for their decision. Behind her, her alien allies stood ready to support whatever choice she made. The crystal creature's wings glittered in the chamber's light. The tree being's star eyes glowed with ancient wisdom. Morden stared at the human woman who had just turned his world upside down. 50 years ago, the Council had locked the humans away because they seemed too dangerous to exist freely. Now they stood before him offering to save the galaxy. The time for hiding was ending. The time for choosing had begun. The vote had been chaos. 3 days of arguing, shouting, and fear had split the Galactic Council into 3 groups. The Warhawks demanded immediate military action against the humans. The isolationists wanted stronger barriers and complete separation. The smallest group, led by species who had opposed the original prohibition, called for cooperation. No decision had been reached. The Council remained divided while reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human ships were everywhere. They moved freely through space that had been off-limits for 50 years. They visited worlds that the Council had forgotten. They made contact with species that had been ignored for centuries. Admiral Corax of the Council Defense Force stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Will. Around him floated the largest battle fleet ever assembled, 500 ships from 40 different species, enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Sir, his communications officer reported, we have located a human fleet in the neutral zone. 27 ships, including 3 large vessels of unknown design. Corax nodded grimly. The Defense Committee had given him clear orders. Find the humans. Force them to return to their containment. Destroy them if they refused. Signal the fleet, Corax commanded. All ships prepare for battle. We end this human threat today. The Council fleet moved toward the neutral zone at maximum speed. Corax had studied the old records about human military tactics. They were aggressive and unpredictable. They used strange weapons and fought without honor, but they were still primitives compared to the Council's advanced technology. Within hours, the human fleet appeared on their sensors. Corax expected the humans to run when they saw the massive Council armada approaching. Instead, the human ships turned toward them. Sir, the tactical officer called out, the human ships are moving to intercept us. They are not attempting to escape. Corax frowned. Either the humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, perhaps both. Open a communication channel, he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a human ship. A man in a blue uniform looked back at Corax with calm eyes. His name tag read, Captain Torres. Admiral Corax, Captain Torres said politely. I am Captain Marcus Torres of the Human Federation ship Unity. You have brought quite a large fleet to visit us. Are you here to talk or to fight? Corax straightened in his command chair. I am here to end your illegal presence in Council space. You will return to your containment immediately or face the consequences. Captain Torres smiled sadly. Admiral, we cannot return to something that never truly contained us. We have been free for decades. We have built new homes, made new friends, and discovered new wonders. We will not go back to a cage. Then you have chosen death, Corax declared. All ships attack formation. Prepare to... Alarms suddenly screamed across the bridge. Corax spun to look at his sensor displays. Impossible readings filled the screens, sir. The sensor operator shouted in panic. We have massive energy signatures appearing all around us. Ships are materializing out of nowhere. The space around the Council fleet filled with vessels unlike anything they had ever seen. Crystal ships that looked like frozen lightning. Tree ships that seemed to be grown rather than built. Geometric craft that hurt to look at directly. And among them, human ships with designs that made no sense to council engineers. Captain Torres's voice came through the communicator again. "Admiral, meet our friends. The crystal winds you already know about. The tree shepherds have been hiding from your council for 3,000 years. The geometric builders exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously, and there are others you cannot even see." Korak stared at his tactical displays in shock. His 500 ships were now surrounded by over 2,000 alien vessels. Many of them showed technology readings that were completely beyond council understanding. "This is impossible," Korax whispered. "These species do not exist in our records. We have mapped the entire galaxy." Captain Torres laughed, but it was not a mocking laugh. "Admiral, you have mapped the parts of the galaxy that you were allowed to see. There are species out here who have been watching the council for millennia, some hiding in fear, some waiting to see if you would ever grow beyond your need to control everything." One of the crystal ships moved closer to Korax's flagship. When it spoke, its voice sounded like a choir singing in harmony. "Council Admiral," the crystal ship said, "we are the Crystal Winds. For 5,000 years, we have watched your civilization grow. You build beautiful cities and create wonderful art. But you also fear what you do not understand. You make laws about who can exist and who cannot. You decide which species are worthy of your friendship." A tree ship drifted forward on solar winds. "We are the tree shepherds," it said in a voice like rustling leaves. "Your council declared our worlds worthless because we do not build metal cities or fly ships made of steel. You never asked what we might offer. You never wondered what we might teach." Korax found his voice. You are allied with the humans? You serve them?" Captain Torres shook his head. "They serve no one, Admiral. They are our friends and partners. We work together because we choose to, not because anyone forces us to." "This changes nothing," Korax said, though his voice shook. "The council has decided. The humans must be contained. If you stand with them, you are also our enemies." "Very well," Captain Torres replied calmly. "Fire when ready, Admiral." Korax hesitated. His fleet was powerful, but they were outnumbered 4-1. Many of the ships surrounding them showed technology that his sensors could not even properly analyze. This battle could end very badly for the council forces. But his orders were clear. The humans had to be stopped. "All ships," Korax commanded, "open fire." The space around them exploded into light and energy. 500 council ships unleashed their weapons at once. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, and fusion missiles filled the void between the fleets. The human and allied ships simply disappeared. "What?" Korax shouted as his weapons passed through empty space. "Where did they go?" His sensor operator looked up from his controls with wide eyes. "Sir, they are still here. They are all around us, but they are somehow existing in a different phase of space-time. Our weapons cannot touch them." The enemy ships reappeared exactly where they had been before. Not one of them showed any damage. Captain Torres still smiled calmly from the main screen. "That was quite impressive, Admiral," he said politely. "Very coordinated. Very powerful. Now may we show you something?" Before Korax could respond, his ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across every control panel. His engineering officer called out in panic, "Sir, something is interfering with our main reactor. Power levels are dropping rapidly. We are losing life support." The same reports came in from every ship in the fleet. 500 council vessels found themselves powerless and drifting in space. But they were not destroyed. They were not damaged. They were simply stopped. Captain Torres leaned forward on his screen. "Admiral, we have temporarily disrupted your power systems. Your crews are safe. Your ships are undamaged. In approximately 1 hour, everything will return to normal. But right now you cannot fight us. You cannot run from us. You can only listen." Korax slumped in his command chair. His mighty fleet had been defeated without a single shot being fired at them. The humans had not destroyed them. They had simply made them helpless. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "We want you to understand," Captain Torres replied. "We did not come back to the galaxy to conquer anyone. We did not reveal ourselves to start a war. We came back because there is something coming that will destroy everything unless we work together to stop it." The main screen changed to show images that made Korax's blood run cold. Entire star systems being consumed by spreading darkness. Planets vanishing as if they had never existed. space itself being eaten away by something that his mind could not comprehend. The dark silence, Captain Torres continued. It destroyed the home galaxy of the Hungry Ones. Now it is coming here. It will arrive in 47 years. When it does, every world, every species, every star will be consumed unless we are ready. Korak stared at the images in horror. This is real? Very real, Captain Torres confirmed. We have been preparing for decades. Our allies have been building defensive networks throughout the Outer Rim. We have been trying to find ways to communicate with the Hungry Ones to turn them from enemies into allies. The tree ship spoke again. Admiral, we have seen the dark silence before. Our species is older than your civilization. We remember when it consumed the galaxy next to ours 2 million years ago. We fled here to escape it. Now it has found us again. Korax looked around his darkened bridge. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give? His fleet was helpless. His weapons were useless. His enemy had shown mercy when they could have shown destruction. Why are you telling us this? Korax asked. Why not just let the Council face this threat alone? Captain Torres' expression grew sad. Because we are not the monsters you think we are, Admiral. We never were. 50 years ago, your people met us at our worst moment. Humanity had just survived a terrible war. We were angry, afraid, and desperate. We made mistakes. We scared you. He paused and looked directly at Korax. But we are not the same species we were 50 years ago. We have grown. We have learned. We have become better than the Council emergency session had been going for 6 days without rest. Representatives slept at their desks, ate meals during debates, and argued until their voices gave out. Admiral Korax's report had shattered what little unity remained among the 10,000 species. High Chancellor Morden looked older than his 800 years. His golden skin had faded to a dull bronze. Dark circles surrounded his tired eyes. The weight of leading a galaxy in crisis was crushing him. Order, he called weakly. Please, we must have order. The chamber fell into an exhausted quiet. Everyone was too tired to shout anymore. Too frightened to keep pretending everything would be fine. Representative Dalren from the border world stood up slowly. Her people lived on the edge of known space, where the devourer swarms had been most active. Half of her colonies had gone silent in the past year. High Chancellor, she said, her voice cracking with emotion. My people are dying. 3 more worlds went dark yesterday. Our defense fleets cannot stop these creatures. Our weapons barely slow them down. We need help. Morden shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The Council defense forces stretched thin. We cannot, or will not. Dalren interrupted. You sit here debating protocols while entire civilizations disappear. My children sent me their last messages before the swarms reached them. They asked why the Council had abandoned them. Other border representatives began standing. One by one, they told stories of lost worlds, dying fleets, and desperate calls for aid that went unanswered. The Council's military was powerful, but it moved slowly. Committees had to approve every action. Bureaucrats had to file reports for every decision. By the time help arrived, there was usually nothing left to save. What would you have us do? Demanded Senator Vexlar from the core worlds. Accept human help? Trust the same species we imprisoned for being too dangerous? Dalren turned to face him with fury in her eyes. They offered to help us fight the swarms. They said they could communicate with these creatures. They promised to defend our worlds while asking nothing in return. What has the Council offered except debate and delay? Before Vexlar could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. Security officers rushed toward the main entrances. Emergency lights flashed red warnings. The massive doors burst open. A creature the size of a small ship crawled into the chamber. Its body was covered in black metal plates. 6 legs ended in claws that could tear through steel. Multiple heads weaved on long necks, each mouth filled with razor teeth. A devourer. One of the swarms had somehow reached the Council's capital world. Panic exploded through the chamber. Representatives scrambled for exits that security was already sealing. Guards raised weapons that had never been tested against such creatures. The monsters' heads turned toward the fleeing crowds with obvious hunger. Then something impossible happened. A human voice spoke from the creature's largest mouth. Do not be afraid. We are not here to harm you. The chamber froze in shocked silence. The devourer's terrifying heads had spoken in perfect Council standard. The voice was calm, almost gentle. High Chancellor Morden found enough courage to speak. What are you? The creature moved closer to the central platform. Its claws left deep scratches in the metal floor. "We are Kethmori of the Hungry Ones. We speak for those you call devourers. We have come to explain." Dr. Sarah Chen walked out from behind the creature. She showed no fear of the monster that could have swallowed her whole. Behind her came Captain Torres and several other humans, along with their strange alien allies. "Hi, Chancellor," Dr. Chen said calmly. "Meet our newest friend. Kethmori has been learning human languages for the past 3 months. Today we thought it was time for a proper introduction." Morden stared at the scene before him. A creature that had destroyed hundreds of worlds was having a conversation with humans. The most feared predator in the galaxy was asking for permission to speak. "This is impossible," whispered Representative Vexillar. "These monsters cannot be reasoned with. They only know hunger and destruction." Kethmori's heads turned toward him. "We were hungry," the creature admitted. "We were desperate. Our home was consumed by the dark silence. We fled across the void between galaxies with nothing but our ships and our fear." The creature's voice grew sad. "When we arrived here, we found worlds full of life, food to sustain our people. We took what we needed to survive. We did not know that these worlds held thinking beings like ourselves." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "When our ships first encountered the Hungry Ones, we did not attack. We tried to communicate. It took weeks, but eventually we learned their language. We discovered their history." Captain Torres activated a holographic display above the chamber. Images appeared showing the Hungry Ones' original galaxy being consumed by spreading darkness. "They are refugees," he explained. "Billions of them, fleeing something even more terrible than anything we have faced. They have been eating our worlds because they do not know any other way to survive." Kethmori spoke again. "The humans showed us new ways. They taught us to harvest energy from stars without destroying planets. They helped us build farms in empty space. They offered us worlds we could live on without taking worlds that others needed." The holographic display changed to show massive structures being built in the void between star systems, space farms that could feed millions, energy collectors that drew power directly from stars, cities built for creatures that needed no atmosphere to breathe. "In return," Dr. Chen said, "the Hungry Ones have shared their knowledge of the dark silence. They have helped us understand what we will face when it arrives." The display shifted again. Now it showed something that made every creature in the chamber recoil in terror. Not darkness, but the absence of everything. Space itself being eaten away, leaving nothing behind. "The dark silence does not just destroy," Kethmori explained. "It removes. It makes things not exist. Planets, stars, space, time, even memory of what was lost. Our entire galaxy is gone as if it never was." High Chancellor Morden found his voice. How do we fight something like that?" Dr. Chen looked around the chamber at the thousands of frightened faces. "We do not fight it. We redirect it." The holographic display showed new images. Massive structures being built throughout the galaxy's outer rim, networks of energy that spanned multiple star systems, devices that seemed to bend space itself. "Working together, our combined species have been building a deflection network," Captain Torres explained. "When the dark silence reaches our galaxy, these structures will redirect its path around us instead of through us." "But," Dr. Chen added seriously, "this will only work if every species contributes. We need the Council's manufacturing capacity. We need access to your industrial worlds. We need the resources that only a united galaxy can provide." Representative Dalrin stepped forward eagerly. "What do you need from us? How can we help?" Dr. Chen smiled. "We need you to trust us. We need you to work with species your council has never acknowledged. We need you to set aside old fears and prejudices to face a threat that could destroy everything." Senator Vexillar stood up angrily. "And what guarantee do we have that this is not some elaborate human trick? How do we know you will not use our resources to conquer us?" Kethmori's multiple heads turned toward him. "Because, small angry one, if the humans wanted to conquer you, they could have done so already. Their allies are powerful beyond your understanding. Their technology surpasses yours in every way, yet they offer partnership instead of demanding submission." Dr. Chen nodded. "We could have destroyed Admiral Korax's fleet when he attacked us. Instead, we disabled it and let everyone live. We could have forced our way into this chamber with weapons and threats. Instead, we came with words and offered friendship." She gestured toward Kethmori. "We could have left the Hungry Ones to continue consuming your worlds while we prepared our defenses. Instead, we chose to help them find another way. We chose to turn enemies into allies. High Chancellor Morden looked around the chamber. Fear still filled many faces, but he also saw something else. Hope. For the first time in months, some of his representatives looked like they believed survival was possible. What would this partnership look like? He asked carefully. Captain Torres stepped forward. Equal voices for all species. Shared resources and knowledge. Decisions made by cooperation, not by bureaucratic committees. And most importantly, no species telling another species how they must live. Dr. Chen added. The Human Federation would provide our technology and our allies. The Council would provide your industrial capacity and your organizational experience. Together we would have the strength to save the galaxy. And after the threat passes? Morden asked. What happens then? Dr. Chen's smile grew warm. Then we explore the universe together. We learn from each other. We grow beyond what any of us could become alone. We make sure that no species ever has to face extinction by themselves again. The chamber fell silent as 10,000 representatives considered the choice before them. Everything they had believed about the galaxy was changing. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong, but the alternative was extinction. Dalren was the first to speak. The border worlds accept this partnership. We will contribute whatever resources we can spare, and now we want. 15 years had passed since the partnership began. Commander Zethkai stood on the observation deck of Station Unity, watching something that would have been impossible under the old council. Human children played with young crystal winds in the station's zero-gravity recreation areas. Tree shepherd saplings grew alongside Hungry One larvae in the nursery gardens. Species that had never known each other existed now worked together as if they had been friends for centuries. The station itself was a marvel of cooperation. Human engineering supported by crystal wind mathematics, powered by tree shepherd bioenergy, and defended by Hungry One armor plating. Even the geometric builders had contributed, though their 7-dimensional architecture still hurt to look at directly. Hard to believe it's been 15 years, said a familiar voice behind her. Zethkai turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen approaching. The human woman looked older now, with gray streaks in her dark hair, but her eyes still held the same calm confidence that had changed the galaxy. Dr. Chen, Zethkai said with genuine warmth, I was just remembering the first time I encountered your ships. I thought the galaxy was ending, Dr. Chen laughed. In a way it was. The old galaxy anyway. The one built on fear and separation. But something better grew from its ashes. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the impossible scene below. A Hungry One engineer worked alongside a council technician to repair a damaged power coupling. Neither species had weapons. Neither species showed fear. They simply worked together to solve a problem. The final phase begins tomorrow, Dr. Chen said quietly. Zethkai nodded. After 15 years of construction, the deflection network was nearly complete. Thousands of stations like Unity had been built throughout the galaxy's outer rim. Each one contained technology from dozens of species powered by cooperation that had once seemed impossible. Are you confident it will work? Zethkai asked. Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. The mathematics check out. The crystal winds have run the calculations millions of times. The tree shepherds have consulted their ancient memories. The Hungry Ones have shared everything they know about the dark silence. We are as ready as we can be. She paused and looked directly at Zethkai. But we will know for certain in 6 months. That is when the dark silence reaches the galaxy's edge. Alarms suddenly rang through the station. Not emergency alarms, but the gentle chimes that meant an important announcement was coming. Dr. Chen and Zethkai moved to the nearest communication panel. High Chancellor Morden's image appeared on the screen. He looked much healthier than he had 15 years ago. Working toward a common goal had given him new purpose and energy. Citizens of the galaxy, he began, tomorrow marks the completion of the greatest project in galactic history. The deflection network is ready. Our combined fleets are in position. We have done everything possible to prepare for what is coming. The image shifted to show the network itself. Lines of energy connected thousands of stations across millions of light years. It looked like a vast web stretched across the darkness, ready to catch something too terrible to imagine. Whatever happens in the coming months, Morden continued, we face it together. Human and Council, Hungry One and Crystal Wind, Tree Shepherd and Geometric Builder. We are no longer separate species fighting for survival. We are one galaxy. standing united against the dark. The transmission ended. Dr. Chen and Zethkai returned to watching the children play below. A young human girl was teaching a crystal wind larva how to throw a ball. The crystal creature's attempts were clumsy but enthusiastic. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the council had accepted humans from the beginning, Zethkai mused. Dr. Chen considered this. We might have become just another member species. Ordinary, controlled. We might never have explored beyond your borders, or met the allies who became essential to our survival. She smiled sadly. The prohibition hurt us, but it also freed us. It forced us to become something better than we were, something the galaxy needed, even if it did not know it at the time. A new voice joined their conversation. The ancient texts speak of this, said Ambassador Silandra of the Crystal Winds. The crystalline being approached on wings that sang in harmonious tones. Sometimes the greatest gifts come from the greatest hardships. Behind Silandra came Elder Root Singer of the Tree Shepherds, the massive plant being moved slowly but with dignity that came from millions of years of wisdom. We remember the last time the dark silence came, Root Singer said, in a voice like wind through leaves. Our people fled rather than fight. We hid rather than stand together. This time is different. This time we have learned to trust. Keth Mori of the Hungry Ones joined them on the observation deck. The massive creature had to duck to fit through the doorway, but its presence no longer frightened anyone. After 15 years of cooperation, the former predator had become a beloved protector. Our young ones ask why their parents once ate thinking beings, Kethamori said sadly. We tell them that fear makes even good people do terrible things. But courage and friendship can make anyone better than they were. Dr. Chen looked around at the group of allies that had once been impossible to imagine. Whatever happens tomorrow, we have already succeeded. We have proven that different species can work together. We have shown that cooperation is stronger than control. Zethkai nodded. The Prohibition era is truly over. But what comes next? Before anyone could answer, another set of alarms began ringing. These were different, urgent. Emergency signals from the outer rim stations. The group rushed to the main command center. Hundreds of technicians from dozens of species worked frantically at control panels. Captain Torres stood at the center of it all, coordinating responses with his usual calm efficiency. Report, Dr. Chen called out. Captain Torres looked up with surprise in his eyes. It's early. The dark silence has reached the galaxy's edge 6 months ahead of our calculations. It's moving faster than the Hungry Ones remembered. The main display screen lit up with images from the outermost observation posts. The edge of the galaxy simply ended. Not in stars or planets or empty space, but in nothing. A spreading void that erased everything it touched. Is the network ready? Dr. Chen asked urgently. All stations report green status, Captain Torres confirmed. The deflection field is charging to full power. We should know if it works within the next few hours. The command center fell silent except for the hum of machinery and the soft voices of technicians reporting status updates. Everyone watched the main screen as the dark silence crept closer to their galaxy. Then something beautiful happened. The deflection network activated. Lines of pure energy blazed to life across the galaxy's rim. The combined technology of dozens of species created a barrier unlike anything ever built. Human innovation merged with crystal wind mathematics. Tree shepherd bioenergy flowed through Hungry One armor. Geometric builder dimensional science bent space itself. The dark silence struck the barrier like a tide hitting a seawall. For a moment, nothing happened. The void pressed against the energy field, testing its strength. Then slowly, gradually, the dark silence began to curve around the galaxy instead of through it. The deflection network was working. The spreading nothingness was being redirected into empty space between galaxies. Cheers erupted throughout the command center. Species that had never trusted each other hugged and celebrated together. The impossible had been achieved, but Dr. Chen watched the display with concern. The network is holding, but barely. We are losing stations on the outer edge. The dark silence is stronger than we expected. Captain Torres nodded grimly. We have maybe a year before the deflection field fails completely. After that, he did not need to finish. After that, the dark silence would continue its path through the galaxy. Everything would end. Then we have a year to find another solution, Dr. Chen said firmly. We have a year to discover something even the Hungry Ones did not know about their enemy. Zethkai looked around at the alliance that had formed from fear and grown into friendship. Humans and aliens working together, former enemies united against a common threat, species that had been prohibited from existing now essential to everyone's survival. "We will find a way," she said with quiet confidence. "We have accomplished too much to fail now." Dr. Chen smiled and placed her hand on Zethkai's shoulder. "You are right, my friend. We have learned that there is no problem too big for the galaxy to solve when we work together." The observation deck filled with beings from across the galaxy. They came to watch the deflection network hold back the dark silence. They came to see proof that cooperation could achieve miracles. A young human girl stood next to a crystal wind larva, both of them staring up at the stars with wonder. They had been born into a galaxy where such friendships were normal, where different species worked together as naturally as breathing. The time of prohibition was not just over. It had been replaced by something infinitely better, an age of cooperation, an era of trust, a galaxy united in purpose and hope. Outside the station, the deflection network continued its impossible task. The dark silence pressed against barriers built by unity and defended by friendship. For now, the light held back the dark, and in that light, 10,000 species worked together to find a way to win their war against nothing itself.